What do you think, Leroy? Do the red flora or the blue fauna for the living room? The blue is currently in style, but the red is just such a classic.
Patricia, don't you think that's a little too early to be making these kinds of decisions? I haven't even discussed this with my lawyer yet.
Nonsense, Susanna. You know as much as I that my brother and I deserve this house, and my brother and I are going to get what we're owed.
As Sen followed the voices to the living room, Sen found his mother, Suzanne, gripping tightly onto a tray of tea as his aunt and uncle prepared the living room for their future plans. Sen's aunt, Patricia Han, flipped through wallpaper swatches and placed them against the wall as her brother, Leroy Han, used a wristcom to scan the dimensions of the room. They grinned dumbly and touched everything. Looking at his mother, Sen could see the worry in her eyes as she set the tea tray down. Despite these people trying to take their home, his mother was still going out of her way to be courteous to her unwanted guests. If there was anyone who deserved less to serve such cold roaches, it was his mother. Glaring at the primitive vultures before him, Sen cleared his throat.
What do you think you're doing?
Lowering her swatches, Patricia smiled at Sen with a belittling grin that dared Sen to try to declare war on her. Wafting the samples in the air, Patricia motioned to the walls.
Trying to figure out our plans for redecorating. Have you ever considered putting a fresh coat of paint on these walls? I'm surprised that you let this place get so shabby.
Sen looked to his mother, only to find her unable to look him in the eye. When his father was alive, he never wanted her to work a day in her life. However, after his father passed, his mother found herself having to learn how to make her own money and keep 2 children alive all on her own. It hadn't been easy, and Sen knew she had sacrificed so much just to keep them together. Never wanting to see his mother cry, Sen snarled as he grabbed the tray from her hands.
You really are just going to sit there and let her serve you tea as you're taking our home away from us?
Surprised by Sen, Leroy and Patricia looked at each other. Neither of them had expected to have an audience, let alone have anyone stand up to them. To them, this was supposed to be an easy shakedown where Susanna would simply hand over the house. Trying to play off the intrusion, Leroy grabbed a cookie from the tea tray.
Sen, I didn't think you were home. Why don't you run off and play with Bobby or that Henry? I'd prefer to talk about this now, Sen hissed. You don't get to just walk in here and demand the house. No one gets to enter my house and make nonsensical demands. I won't let you or anyone else.
But son, we aren't being unreasonable.
In fact, I think we've been more than generous with our offer.
Either you can buy us both out of our share of the house for $2 million, or we can sell the house and split the money. We're even letting your dear mother have her pick. Patricia laughed.
If anything, we're being generous. For a house like this, we're only asking for 2/3 of its worth. Only $2 million. Honestly, with our stake in this house, we have an easy case to seize the entire property without giving your family a single levo.
Sen hissed.
Didn't my father give you more than enough money, even after the Starspan Group swooped in and bought the business? From my understanding, the only reason that you got a good deal is because of my father's work to represent the company. I bet when he died, you and your stupid family were actually happy that he was gone, so you could take his cut of the company, you selfish pigs.
Behind him, his mother gently put a hand on his shoulder.
It's okay, Sen, I'll handle this.
Sen could hear the shake in her voice as she spoke. Despite how cruel her in-laws were being, she was determined to do this her way, with kindness and honesty. As Sen shut himself up, his mother smiled at her in-laws.
Sen's right, we don't have the money to pay you back, not with Yara in school and Sen only having just graduated. If they had a few more months, we could settle this matter. How about a cup of tea in the meantime?
Turning off his wristcom, Uncle Leroy hissed, Damn it, Suzanne, I don't want any more damn tea. I want what we're owed. Sen could see that the tears brimming in the corner of his mother's eyes had started to cascade down her cheeks. Knowing his relatives, he knew that these people didn't care about the house and only were demanding the house out of spite. Paying these people was the last thing that Sen wanted to do, but he couldn't help but feel eager that he could do it. In the world outside of God's sanctuary, Levo was what ruled the Alliance. Money meant freedom. freedom to ignore his relatives, freedom to do whatever he wanted, freedom for his family. Most importantly, it would mean no one could hassle his family for anything. Out of everything, the greatest thing in his life was his mother and sister. There was nothing in this galaxy that Sen wouldn't do for them. If he could, he'd offer his aunt and uncle all of the wealth in the Alliance just to take the worry off his mother's shoulders. Doing his best to follow his mother's footsteps, Sen flashed his aunt and uncle a toothy smile.
How fast do we need to get the money to you?
Brushing the crumbs off his pants, his uncle laughed. You have 1 month, or you'll find yourselves looking for a new place to live. Sen nodded.
Then you'll have your money by the end of the month.
As his mother led his aunt and uncle to the door, Sen remained in the living room. From the window, Sen watched as his aunt, uncle, and cousin stepped into their brand new luxury aircraft.
If they can afford a vehicle like that, why do they need the house then, too? How can they be so greedy?
Gritting his teeth, Sen turned his back to the window. His aunt and uncle would regret ever demanding money from his family. He'd show them that no one can mess with his family and get away with it. Returning to the living room, his mother smiled warmly at Sen as Yara and Henry followed in.
How was God's sanctuary? Did you see any interesting beasts in your travels?
Sen frowned.
Mom, we need to figure out a plan. A month is going to come and go before we know it. You saw how Aunt Patricia and Uncle Leroy were. Sen, they're family. It's like your father would say, family always looks out for family. But they've never looked out for us, even when Dad was alive, Sen thought as he looked away. Although he loved that she would see the goodness in everyone, there was nothing good about his aunt and uncle. Their only intention here was to see his family in misery. How could there be something positive in that? Looking to break the tension, Henry sighed. I'll talk to my father and see if he can do anything about this. It shouldn't be possible that they can just seize your house like this. Maybe there's some kind of bylaw in the rental agreement? Sen shook his head. Does he think that this lawsuit might actually be something that we should worry about? Knowing Mr. Zhang, he has to have something up his sleeve.
With how regarded Henry's father was across the planet, Sen knew just how powerful of an ally Mr. Zhang was. Anytime Reginald spoke to Sen couldn't help but feel Reginald's confidence in him. If he could do anything to prove that he was worthy of Reginald's praise, Sen was going to take it. Eager to cheer up her mother, Yara ran for Suzanne and wrapped her arms around her mother's legs.
It's okay, Mommy. I'm here. I can help.
With a smile, Sen hugged his mother too.
And I'm here as well, although I don't know if you need me when you've got Yara here.
Wiping the corners of her eyes, Sen's mother let out a loud laugh. This was just how Sen wanted to see his mom, carefree and laughing. If he could, he'd give anything to make sure she was never without a smile, even if it meant giving his aunt and uncle the house. Henry checked his wristcom. I should be going back home, but I'll make sure to get back to you soon. Nodding, Sen sighed. Thanks, and I'll work on getting the money together. The money would have to come from God's sanctuary. In the Alliance, wealth was inherited, but in a place like God's sanctuary, anyone would have the chance to make their fortune. There, the rich would spend thousands, if not millions, on quality beast souls and meat for Geno points. This was the exact kind of challenge that Sen was eager for, a way to earn money by testing his new equipment. It would also mean having to hunt even stronger beasts than before. While ordinary and primitive creatures weren't worth much on the market, someone could earn quite a fortune collecting mutant creatures. Mutant creatures would be far more deadly, far more intelligent, far more bloodthirsty, but worth the payout if he could bring back quite a few.
Playing it safe has never gotten me anywhere, and I need to keep pushing myself forward,
Sen thought as he started to prepare for his return trip to God's sanctuary. Gathering some supplies, Sen packed his bag as his mother walked inside with Yara.
Where are you off to now? You've only been home a few minutes.
Back to God's sanctuary. I just came home to resupply. Suzanne offered Sen a feeble smile.
I appreciate you wanting to help, but I'm not sure what you can do. If anything were to happen to you there...
You don't have anything to worry about, Mom, Sen thought as he felt the black stone in his hand. I can get us out of this. For a moment, Sen debated telling his mom about the black crystal and its incredible powers to evolve creatures just to get her to stop crying. His aunt and uncle could make all the threats they wanted against him, but no one was going to make his mother cry. However, Sen said nothing about the stone. No matter how much he wanted his mother's tears to dry up, the stone had to stay a secret for their own safety. After seeing what this stone was capable of, Sen knew if the truth got out, far more brutal people than his aunt and uncle would come to collect the stone, possibly endangering his own family. For their own safety, he kept it firmly in his pocket. Giving his mother a kiss on the forehead, Sen offered her a reassuring smile. I promise you that I'll be back as soon as I can. All right, but don't be gone for so long this time. You shouldn't worry your mother like this, his mother said with a sly smile. Don't worry. After I'm done, I'll make sure that our family never has to worry again. For miles, Sen could only see an ocean of grass from his perch on a dead tree. The wind ripped through the grass that was taller than he was,